Okay, Naheel, welcome to the Not So Stupid podcast. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for coming on. I'm really appreciative of this. I can't wait to dive into this. So, for those that aren't aware, Naheel is a longtime client of mine, a good friend of mine as well. We've been in communication for well over a year now since we first talked about getting into the fitness journey. But I definitely want to hand the mic over to her so she can tell you about where she was at before she started, what her struggles were, and what her story is. So, Naheel, if you could take the lead on that.
All right, sounds good. So I'm 29. I am a teacher and a mom of a 2-year-old, almost three. So I feel like I have five younger sisters also. So I've always been the big one, and they've all been like the small, skinny one. So I guess you could say I've been struggling with this for like too long. I did do, different kinds of dieting and cardio. Like I remember 6, 7 years ago, I would wake up at 5 in the morning. I would do cardio for an hour. I was so strict with what I was eating. I was barely eating what I should have been eating, and it wasn't all healthy. Like I wasn't giving my body everything it needed. And I would go 2 hours at night to the gym and just like do running. And like literally, I lost so much weight, but then I gained it in like 2 months. I gained it all
Right.
back and it sucked. And then having a kid, it's like, oh my God, it just changes your whole body, your hormones and everything. So I remember I took a picture with my son, which I never really do. And I saw my body and I'm like, oh my God, this cannot be what I look like. Like this is crazy. I guess I never looked at myself and like thought like, wow. You could tell like I wasn't healthy and I had started getting different kinds of health issues. So it's like, okay, I have to do something. So, and it was more so for my son. It's like you think about everyone but yourself sometimes. And
Mhm.
I thought of him. So I'm like, we have to do it for him. And that's when I did work with you and I did your the Facebook 1 month program just to get into it and get myself understanding something. So like that got me going. And then I started thinking like, okay, this is not just for him, like it's for myself too. It's gonna change me, it's gonna make me feel better. And honestly, like I never want to be that person I was a year ago before doing all of this. Like I am just so happy with where I'm at. I know I have a long way to go,
Mhm.
but I am like super happy with how everything is going so far.
Yeah, you have a long way to go, but you've come a long way at the same time, you know?
Exactly. So
Yeah.
I'm good.
But I think like that's a very common mom thing where they are very willing and it's very easy for them to put themselves last. They always put everyone else ahead of them, especially as an older sister, like you said, I'm an old sibling, so I know what that's like. When did you like what was the click moment for you to say, you know what, this is just as important for me as it is for anybody else. I gotta make time for me.
I think I noticed it like, after looking at that picture and then getting into it, it's like I wasn't having any energy. I didn't have any like excitement for anything. And then I think like the biggest thing was finding that time where it's like, hey, if you go to the gym for an hour, it's like alone time. And I wanted that alone time. I didn't feel guilty. I'm like, oh my God, it's amazing. Like I get that hour to myself. If I ever had like a headache or I was tired or I'm like, just having a bad day, literally going to the gym for that hour just changed my mood. It changed everything. I wasn't having a headache and it seriously made a huge difference. So like I kind of got addicted and I'm like, yeah, this is for me. Like I get my free hours. So benefit. That's
You
probably the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, you deserve. Hey, you deserve that free hour. Between being a teacher and a mom, like you said, like we said, your time is always everybody else's, but your own sometimes.
It
So you deserve that time for yourself. But
is.
I mean, this you said this is something you've struggled with for years, to some degree, and going through the program, what was kind of the moment that kind of changed things for you going through the program for where, man, this is why I was stuck where I was at, or this is something that I'm going to take for me for a long for the long run. What was the click moment during the program that helped you? shift your perspective on health and nutrition and fitness?
I would say there's two things. So like obviously the big thing is my relationship with food
Mm.
sucked. It was like I had to eat this, so good. I might not have that chance tomorrow, but again, it's there and you get it tomorrow. So for me, like I wasn't always picking the best foods for me. And when I did go on my diet before, it was like I restricted everything. And then when I was able to get back into slowly bringing all that food back, I messed up and I just kept eating it and it just never stopped. So what I feel like you taught me is more than just, hey, this is what you should eat. This is not the best for you. You're telling me things like, this is why this is better for you, or this goes well with this. Especially like the snack was probably the biggest thing that every time I pick something up, I always think about what you taught me. A protein goes with the fat or a protein goes with the carb. That's like the best thing. I'm like, okay, like, why did I not think of that? It gets you full
Hmm.
and satisfied, and it's like you don't have to have the whole, you know, my whole pantry. I'm looking at it now. It's like all that junk is thrown at you, and you're like, you want that, but if you literally just follow that tip, it's like it changes everything. So that was something big. And then the fitness, like all the phases that you've done for me, it's like the first week, especially the first month when you first did it. I was always like, okay, I'm gonna go to the gym, I'm gonna lift weights, I'm gonna follow this plan. And I would go in there and I feel like intimidated, embarrassed. I'm like, okay, I might be doing it wrong. People are looking at me. So I had no confidence at all.
Hmm.
But I want to say, like, phase two and on, I was like so confident. I was lifting so heavy, and I'm like, oh my God, this is so cool. Like, I never would have thought I could lift like 200 pounds deadlift, which everyone knows is my obsession.
Yeah.
So, like, it just kept me like I was amazed at myself. Like I can do this. I can keep going. I can do so much. You sometimes think like you can't do this or you can't do that. You put yourself down, but seeing me do it, and I'll videotape myself and watch like, oh my God, I did this and I never thought I could. It goes into like that mindset too that you talk about, is telling yourself that you can do it and just pushing yourself. So I would say that like is my two biggest things. I'll always remember those things. I know right now I'm going through some stuff and Ramadan's been a little bit hard, but I can always know that I can be consistent with those and get back to it like I've been doing it forever. So I do appreciate you teaching me those things.
Wow, I love that. Those are I love that you chose those things because those are the ones I always want you to learn because
Yeah,
they're the things that you're going to use all the time. They're going to be there the rest of your life, and you learning those now makes the next inshallah, 40, 50, 60 years of your life that much easier for you to stick to everything. I love
yes.
that.
So, and I kind of annoy people because like you'll teach me something like that and I'll tell people like, like this is better or this is what you should do or this is what I learned. And they're like, okay, relax. So spreading them out.
Yeah. Hey, the more people can benefit from it, the better. I
I
love that you're doing that. That's the teacher inside of you, You're just
exactly.
yeah. You're just sharing the wealth all around. But I mean, I know that, like for you when we went through the journey, a lot of it was again that relationship with food that you talked about. Now, what would you say is the biggest difference between your relationship with food then and now? Like how do you much how what kind of emotions do you feel with food now that you didn't feel before, didn't think you could be able to feel?
So I feel like food is food. It's always going to be there now. The thing that I learned too is like you can have whatever you want. It's just the best thing that you could do for yourself is portion it. And
Mm.
I always will never forget, and I love that you say this, you literally might just need a bite of something. I remember I would eat like sweets and it was not that satisfying, but I just kept going. Now I'll like take a bite. I'm like, it doesn't taste like what I expected it to be, or it's doesn't taste that good. I don't have to eat the rest.
Hmm.
So I wouldn't. And it's like I saved so many calories doing that because before I would just think like, let me finish it, it's okay. And now it's like I have to think about it, is it worth it?
Hmm.
But just having your plate colorful and just like you said, you start off with with the vegetables and then the protein, and then you get into your carbs and stuff. I feel like literally you can like imagine yourself eating like half of a plate of broccoli and you get so full already, and then when you get into the protein again, that gets you so full. So doing that like makes such a big difference. Like then you won't start to crave where I used to always crave. I have to have something sweet right after my meal.
Mm.
So being full, I'm like, okay, well, I don't have room for, that sweet. So maybe for later, but not now. So I
Yeah.
think those things definitely changed me, and it's always on my mind. So it's not like I forgot about it or anything. It's something I never ever thought about until now, and it's something that'll always stay with me. I know for sure.
Yeah. And it sounds like that, based on what you're saying, gives you a lot more control in your day to day.
Yes, because I feel like before I definitely was not in control of that stuff.
Oh, I love that. That's great. So now we alluded to a lot of the, results that you've gotten, but if you want to go through and talk about more specifically the results that you've achieved, both mentally, physically, all of that, so we can see how much of a success you truly are, because I always love your story.
Where do I start? So I feel like before I started with you, obviously, my relationship with food wasn't the best. Mentally, I guess you could say not depressed, but I just felt like, you know, things were just not enjoyable. So
Mm,
I was like, whatever, just there was nothing fun for me to do. I wasn't confident enough to go out. I hated shopping. I just didn't even take a picture.
mm,
Sleep was horrible, like the worst. And that would probably be for my son, but still, I could have controlled that.
mhm,
Um, and obviously, the gym, it was just more like a yo yo thing where sometimes I would go for years not even going. And it was just like, I just felt so lazy. So, the first surgery I had was right after I had my son, and it was gallbladder removal. And it was because I was eating so much fried and spicy food during my pregnancy.
mhm,
So that right there was like, okay, well, you have to start changing. And slowly with that, I'm like, okay, well, I started doing different things, and it's just like nothing stuck or was just too inconsistent. And then like stress from work, dealing with special needs kids was just so hard, and it's a lot. And then adding a kid and you're doing it by yourself, that's even harder.
mhm,
So you just everything just gets to be so hard that the last thing you think about is yourself. So I know I let myself go for too many years. But when health comes to it, you're like, okay, well, I have to do something about it. So that was the first like major health issue that I tried to work on. And then, um, I started working with you and getting into the gym and doing better. But there was always ups and downs. There was different issues where I know the biggest thing in the beginning with you and me, we kept talking about sleep and trying to manage that. So that, finally I overcame that. But
mhm.
little things kept coming, and I do appreciate like how fast you came up with a plan like right away, or you figured something out and you came to me with ideas, because it was like food, or I had pain, or I didn't have time, or I didn't have the energy, and there was always like a modification or a way to do it. So that helped. But yeah, then my I think I was working with you and I had my heart surgery. So I had to
Right.
go out again without doing anything. And that was hard. So getting back in the gym, I actually remember videotaping myself, and it was so hard. But I told myself I have to keep going, so I don't have to set myself back up again. So that was in the summer, and that was COVID. The gyms were just opening up. So it was like, okay, we finally got our phases going, and I still remember food was still an issue. I did have
Mhm,
trouble with that, and it was hard because it's like you, I was able to do like a lot of planning for breakfast and for lunch, and then I would go home to my family, and they had just a carb filled bad food and all this junk in your face. And like I told you, I'm the oldest, I'm the biggest. They could just eat whatever and they were fine. So
Mm-hmm.
that was a big challenge, but I got through that too. Especially, getting into being on my own. And then, um, sorry, I feel like so much has happened, and I try to not to remember all the bad things that happened. It was
It
just like,
was you had a like I know I told you before, but like you're a very strong person because you've been through so much in your life, and just the last year you've been through so much, but you still always like kept your head up high and pushed through it, and you made it out to the other side every single time.
thank you, I try. I feel like almost every week I was telling you about something bad happening.
Yeah.
got, I had a tonsillectomy, and then I couldn't work out again. And
Hmm.
I ended up in the hospital. I was actually talking to you on my way, and I'm like, my back hurts. Like, I literally couldn't move. And that was like the worst thing ever to hear, like you have some kind of disc issue with your spine, and you don't want to hear that.
No.
So again, I do appreciate you. I don't know if I told you, it was crazy how like you're like, okay, I can figure this out. I'll get back to you. And like the next day you literally gave me all this information you learned, and then you told me what to do. You modified all my exercises, which have helped so much. So I think the biggest thing obviously is slowing down. And I think what I wanted to do after the second phase, I think I got so obsessed with I'm lifting so much and I never thought I could. And I thought I looked like so awesome doing it. I'm like, let
Hmm.
me keep going and pushing myself. So now after that happening and talking to you, it's okay that I lower the weights and just make sure that my form is good and make sure that I'm doing everything right and slowing down.
Hmm.
So, um, now I'm all better or getting there. So I think, just being able to have you on call and letting you know like how everything's going. I know you always ask me, but and my memory is so off all the time. But it's like I'll have really good days and I'll have really bad days. But overall, like everything that's come into place for me is working. I see the difference, especially when I send you the pictures.
Hmm.
I remember like the first month it was like okay, and I think like the second or third you're like, oh my god, I see the difference in your back. And I'm like, in my back, and I kept looking at the pictures. It's so hard, and kept looking through, and I'm like, oh my god, I literally didn't think that those back workouts really changed the way that your sides look, your figure.
Hmm.
And that's what I've been wanting, obviously. So I got so obsessed with like, okay, the back workouts, I can't hate them anymore because I didn't hate them. I was just like, I like leg day more. Working my glutes, I'm like, why am I doing my back? And then it actually showed in the pictures. I'm like, man, it looks good. Like, I got to keep going. So you notice that, like that back fat, I forgot what I used to call it, my bat wings or something so funny. I'm like, I don't see that much. Like, they're going away. So
Hmm.
it got me going and realizing like obviously the way that you're doing things is calculated to work for my body and how I wanted it, so you like listen to what I was looking for. So I can look at that picture from almost like 2 years ago and be like, that is not me. I don't
Yeah.
have stomach hanging over. I don't have the big sides. My thighs were huge. Now, even though, I'm at a pause right now with Ramadan and stuff, I'll see people that have seen me like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, a year ago, and they're like, oh my God, you lost so much weight. I'm like, oh, thank you. Like sometimes it's hard to tell, or sometimes I don't want to compliment myself, but I'm like, oh my gosh, I really did. So I
Hmm.
try to take more pictures of my body so I can like really be like, look at how proud you should be of everything that you've gone through and like how you're losing the weight. And it's an okay progress. I know I could do better. I just have to push myself more on those bad days. But
Hmm.
it's so nice to hear from people like especially your mom, because I don't know how your mom is, but other
Oh
moms
man.
I feel in general, they're like so sometimes mean, like, you need to lose weight, you gotta stop doing this, you gotta stop doing that. And for her to say it, I'm like,
Hmm.
whoa, all right, we're good. I
That's a
usually
big win. That's the biggest win, honestly. Always the toughest critics.
yeah, they're tough critics. So I was like, woohoo, thank God.
Yeah.
So it does motivate you and want you to like keep going, which I love.
Mhm. Yeah, I know. I love more important, like I think the big thing that was the common theme with all these events that happened is that which you kind of alluded to, but I want to make a little more clear is that, through this time, there's obviously a lot of obstacles we went through together, and regardless of the obstacles, we had an adjustment and a plan for it. And month to month, whenever we did our measurements, whenever we did our pictures, you still saw a change in your body. No matter what obstacle you faced, there was always you were always still trending in the right direction, even though we had to slow things down or maybe not do things at 100%. I always loved that you did the most that you could with your situation, and you were very uh, receptive with the plan like that we came up together to make the most of that situation. So I was very proud of you for that and to keep pushing through that and make that happen.
Yes, thank you. I did want to say, like,
Yeah.
every time I was ready to send you pictures in my final inches, I was so nervous. Like, oh my God, I gained some weight, probably gain inches, but you're right. And I forgot that. I didn't realize, like, every month I was sending you, I was losing inches and I was, changing. My body was changing. So I forgot. I totally forgot.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, no, it's okay.
I appreciate that you reminded me of that because that was obviously the big one too.
Yeah, no, of course, no problem. So now, on that note, you've made a major change in your life. You're reaping the rewards of that. Who would you recommend this program to also see this kind of change? What kind of person do you think would benefit from this?
So I'm dying to get my husband on this. I'm gonna tell him too, and like I kind of hint to him, but like I want
Hmm.
because he's almost like me, where it's like he's just busy and he puts everybody first, and he doesn't put himself. I mean, he takes care of himself very well, but when it comes to that, like health and wellness, it's like he'll take care of me if I'm
Hmm.
sick or anything. He will not take care of himself. So I really want to get him on here. I think it'd be cool. We can do like
Hmm.
a competition thing or something. I don't know, but
I love that.
I would love to get him on there. I think it'd be so cool if he worked with you. I think he'll love it too.
Hmm.
Um, but I just feel like anyone could benefit. Whether you want to lose weight, you want to gain weight. Maybe some people are fine with how they are. It's just they want to be stronger. I know there was a period of time where I was like, oh my God, forget about losing weight. I just want to keep getting stronger. But obviously, in the back of my head, I was saying that. But
Yeah.
I just think it could work for anyone. And like, I thought I knew a lot about nutrition, I thought I knew a lot about the gym. But I swear, like, you always come with something new or like something like so scientific, like this background behind it that you're like, oh my God, this is awesome the way that I can think about it now or learn from it. So I feel like anyone, even if you don't want to lose weight, you don't want to gain weight, you just want to take care of your health, your body, you want to make sure that you're okay, whether you have a lot of pain or not a lot of pain or you're always tired, whatever it is, I feel like anyone could benefit from working with you. Like they'll learn something, they'll gain something, they'll, be somewhere where they never thought they would be. And a big thing too is sometimes I don't think of you as just like a nutrition coach. I feel like you have, I don't want to say a life coach because I know one of your podcasts you say like that's not a, like I agree with you, but it's like you have things where you help with like growth mindset, which is a huge thing, and like little things about life, like sleep and things that you didn't think were important for your health. You really work on everything that people don't really think about. So I want to say everyone, and I know I gave you a specific like my husband, but literally
Uh-huh.
anyone who's just like I need a change in my body or my life or get me up could definitely benefit from this.
Wow, thank you so much for you're too kind to me, honestly. Thank you, Naheel. I really appreciate that. I'm so glad you feel so positively about this that you're, you know, saying just basically everyone can benefit from this. That just means the world to me. I don't even know what to say, but
Well, thank you.
um, yeah, ending things off now with last question for you. I know you listen to the podcast also. So, the last question is always, as the Not So Stupid podcast, we focus on simplicity. What's a simple thing you think anyone can start doing that can really change their life, turn it around for themselves, and help them be happier and healthier?
All right, this is so simple, but I feel like it makes a difference.
Hmm.
Literally walking for 20 to 30 minutes a day, whether it's at the gym or outside. You can listen to a podcast, you can listen to your music. It feels so good. I know in the beginning it might be like, oh my God, this is tedious or it's annoying or it's tiring, but you like would have, like, I would wake up in the morning, that's the first thing I did. And I noticed a big difference from the days that I didn't do that. Like, it keeps you going, it gets you ready for the day, gives you that energy you thought you didn't have. And for me, it was like a stress relief. I got to listen to music, or I even, like, I never had time to watch TV. That 20 minutes, I put on one of my shows on Hulu or Netflix on my phone. And it's like, okay, I got something like for myself. So
Hmm.
I feel like walking feels good. It feels better doing it outside, but if you can do
Yeah.
it at the that's fine.
Yeah. Sometimes the weather isn't always too kind to us, right?
Especially
To
in
get us
Chicago.
outside.
Yes.
Oh man, but that's a great one. I love that you chose that one. I know that was a big cornerstone for us when the nicer time of year
It
to
got
keep you
super
going.
on, so yes.
Yeah. For sure. All right, Nahid. Well, thank you so much again for coming on the show, sharing your experience, and just telling your story. I really appreciate it. It definitely put a smile on my face, and I'm happy that you were able to benefit so much and getting the value that I was hoping you would get out of this. So, thank you again for trusting me. Thank you for coming on and being a part of this, letting me
Thank you.
be a part of this.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, no, of course. All right, and thank you everyone for listening. We'll see you guys on the next episode.